Yunlu Academy on Qinyun Mountain. The horses stop at the foot of the mountain. A scholar in Confucian robes leaps off the bird's back, holding a list in his hand. He quickly runs towards the mountain top. Great news, Zhang Shen said in a deep voice. A scholar must remain calm. Neither great joy nor great sorrow should shake your resolve. I see your expression. It seems that all the scholars who participated in the Spring Festival have passed the provincial examination. The messenger scholar excitedly shouted, Sir, not only did they pass the provincial examination, but Shu Siju became the top scorer. Zhang Shen thought he heard wrong. In a deep voice, he said, Wei Yuan. The student delivering the news nodded vigorously. This is the list of academy students nominated for the Sing list. Shu Siju is indeed the top scorer. Zhang Shen excitedly snatched the list. It listed the names and rankings of the academy students participating in the Spring Festival. The first name was Shu Siju, top scorer, first place. Zhang Shen stared at the list for a long time. Suddenly, he shouted loudly, Dean, Chen Tai, Li Muzi, my student has become the top scholar. Very soon, the courtyard's Zhao Shu and two great scholars were alarmed. Using the great boasting technique, they appeared outside Zhang Shen's study, ignoring the distance. Li Muzi frowned, and said in a deep voice, Is it that student who never lost an argument? The white-haired Dean Zhao Shu asked as well. Really? Which scholar won the Wei Yuan? Zhang Shen said proudly, That's right, it's my student Shu Siju. Li Mujia and Chen Tai were both pleased. That's sour. Dean Zhao frowned and said, Based on the situation of previous annual exams, there must be cheating this year, but Shu Siju is a student of Yunlu Academy. He had no part in the whole thing, but if it was all based on ability, it seems a bit far-fetched. Zhao Shu said in a deep voice, Logically, it shouldn't have been the top scorer. What kind of essay did Siju write? Zhang Shen suppressed his joy. Siju's answers and interpretations were excellent, but to say they were extraordinarily brilliant would be an overstatement. How did he manage to get selected by the three officials? At least two people support him. The reporting student immediately took out a piece of paper from his bosom, and handed it over, saying, I heard that officials say, Shu Siju wrote a poem in the third round, highly praised by the evaluators of Dong's University. The other examiners were also convinced, plus, his performance in the first two exams was excellent. That's why he became the top scorer. Dean Zhao Shu saw this. He reached out and took the folded rice paper, and slowly unfolded it. Then he fell into a long silence. After a long while, he murmured under his breath, caught in some emotion, temporarily unable to escape. Zhang Shen looked at him suspiciously. He wanted to ask but didn't dare. After a while, Zhao Shu suddenly laughed out loud. Great poem. I want to personally engrave this poem in the Sub-Sage Hall. Let it become a part of Yunlu Academy. In the future, when descendants look back at this history, this poem will suffice. The three great scholars found it unbelievable. They grabbed the manuscript from the dean's hand and started reading. The next moment, their expressions froze. Just like Zhao Shu before, they were immersed in a certain emotion. Li Mu suddenly burst into tears. Traveling is difficult. So many divergent paths. Where to go now? There will be times when the long winds break the waves, and the sails will be hoisted to cross the vast seas. This poem is about our Yunlu Academy. Looking back at the 200 years since the establishment of the Imperial College, Yunlu Academy has entered the darkest era in its history. Students study diligently by lamplight, but what they get in return is being shelved. A heart full of passion with nowhere to vent, a belly full of talent with no place to display. Stopping mid-drink and unable to eat, drawing my sword and looking around, feeling lost. These last two lines are simply strokes of genius, making every scholar's spirit soar, emotions stirring. Zhang Shen shook off the stirring emotions, whispered, Dean, Shu Siju is my disciple. I taught him with great effort. Zhao Shu said with relief. Jinyan, you've worked hard. Zhang said righteously. It is our duty to cultivate talent for the academy. I, Zhang Jinyan, have an unshirkable responsibility. What hardship is there to speak of? However, I have a small request. I hope the director can fulfill it. When you personally carve the poem, remember to write a few small characters after the signature of the old words. Teacher Zhang Shen. Zi Jinyan, a person from Jingzhou. Zhao Shu hasn't answered yet. Chen Tai and Li Mubai spoke first. I oppose. Zhang Shen was furious. What does my student's poem have to do with you? Do you have the right to oppose it? The two scholars glared angrily. Nonsense. You have no idea about your student's level? Who wrote this poem? Do you dare to say you don't know? Zhao Shu's mind flashed a question mark, and he said in a deep voice, "What did you just say? This poem wasn't written by Shu Siju?" Chen Tai snorted. Shu Siju excels in essays. His poems are mediocre. How did you create such an inspiring masterpiece? Li Mu quickly replied. It was made by my student, Shu Qian. Zhang Shen laughed and said, since when did he become your student? He is also my student. So, no matter how you write my name, it's not wrong. As the words fell, the three great scholars started arguing again. Dean Zhao shouting listened for a moment, and roughly understood that this poem was not written by Shu Siju, but by his cousin, who is acclaimed in the scholar community as a master poet. So Shu Siju also cheated. Confucianism values character. The higher the rank of a Confucian scholar, the more they emphasize integrity. It's said that every great Confucian scholar has exceptionally high moral standards. Behavior is not a trivial matter. If it conflicts with the primary subject, it will affect future promotions. Zhao Shu suddenly asked, by the way, what is our top graduate's specialty? Zhang Shenao, governance and military strategy. Upon hearing this, Zhao Shu nodded reassuringly. If it's about governance and military strategy, then there's no problem. It won't affect future promotions. Zhao Shu said, you don't need to argue over a poem. I think that Shu Qian used his cousin's hand to present this poem to the academy. That's the greatest reward for us. The three scholars said in unison. The dean is right. The three scholars thought simultaneously. We'll ask Shu Ningyan for more masterpieces later. Additionally, they tacitly added in their hearts, despicable Yang Gong. The next day, the Shu residents held a grand banquet, inviting friends and family. The Shu clan is overjoyed. Recently, Shu Delong was just made an earl. Then Shu Xinian became the top scholar. This is a sign that the Shu family is rising. The guests are drinking and boasting. The success of Delong and Erlang is largely due to you. You have nurtured both a scholar and a warrior. You are even more capable than those tutors. I happen to have a pair of grandsons at home. Dan, can you take care of it for a few years? Shu Pingzhe, feeling elated, laughed heartily and readily agreed. All right, no problem, uncle, just send those two little brats over. Shu Qian couldn't help but complain inwardly. You haven't done a damn thing. You're obviously an unworthy son. Shu Pingzhe. Shu Xinian was brooding inside. Father really has no self-awareness. You are just a crude warrior. Bow. At the west gate of the capital, the soldiers guarding the city suddenly heard faint Buddhist chants. Ethereal, as if coming from the sky. A soldier scratched his ear, and found the chanting still echoing in his ears, so he asked suspiciously, did you hear any strange sounds? As soon as he asked, they saw the golden Buddha light rising slowly from the west. Like the rising morning sun, they gazed at the pure Buddha light, with devout and gentle eyes, as if their souls had been cleansed. Unconsciously, they loosened their tightly held spears. The soldiers, who had not yet had time to look west, noticed something unusual. They grabbed the drumsticks and struck forcefully again and again. The dull drum beats echoed across the fields, a shock in the hearts of the soldiers defending the city. On the Shu residents' side, as Shu Qian raises his cup in a toast, the voice of the monk Shen Shu echoes in his mind. They are here. Shu Qian furrowed his brow. What has arrived? He was first taken aback, then he immediately realized. The Buddhist envoy group has arrived. The Buddhist sect from the western regions has finally arrived in the capital. They have come because of the Senko case. Their arrival bodes ill. Shu Qian is preparing for a great threat. The supervisor has already shielded the horizon for me. Buddhist monks shouldn't be able to see through the existence of monk Shenshu. As the host of Rubo, I inevitably have to deal with monks. I've heard that Buddhism has various mysterious abilities, such as telepathy and the like. If that's the case, can they hear my thoughts? The banquet was in full swing. After Shu Qian made a round of toasts, he left the seat under the pre-response of going to the restroom. He had to contemplate how to face the delegation from the western region's Buddhist sects. A bold plan was taking shape in Shu Qian's mind. The arrival of this delegation was both a crisis and an opportunity. The Buddhist sects knew best about monk Shenshu's identity. I can take this opportunity to subtly probe and dig out more information, so I can give an explanation to monk Shenshu. He looked at Zhang Li and said, "Sister, let's go." Zhang Li, who was still at the banquet, had a face full of displeasure, but she didn't dare to resist. On this side of the dock, a three-masted cargo ship was slowly docking. Governor Zhang sighed. Away from the capital for more than 2 months, left the capital in the deep winter, returned as willow branches sprouted, all things renewed. It's been over a month since Xu Ningyan's death. The overwhelming sadness at that time has now settled in his heart, becoming a subordinate he will always remember. Many years later, he recalls that spirited young man. Maybe there will still be a faint sadness and regret in my heart, Zhang Luzhong said in a deep voice. After the debriefing is over, let's go pay respects to Ningyan. Yang Yan turned back expressionlessly. The voice is very low. I'll go too. To the night watchman's office, Shu Qian took Zhang Li out of the Golden Jade Hall. Just about to visit the hall he took responsibility for, suddenly, he stopped in his tracks. The two of them stared at each other. They all froze there, like statues. Song Tingfeng and the others were dumbfounded. Who is this person? Why does he look so much like Xu Ningyan? Do we have such a constable in our yamen? Are they brothers? But Xu Ningyan doesn't have a brother. One question after another surfaced in the mind of the night watchman returning south, most afraid of the sudden silence of the air, most afraid of memories suddenly rolling and twisting with unrelenting pain, most afraid of suddenly seeing your figure. Shu Qian felt that these lyrics perfectly matched their current state of mind. What the hell is going on now? This is so awkward. It must be Zhang Li bringing me bad luck. He put on an awkward yet polite smile. Hello, everyone. My name is Shu Qian. Song Tingfeng stared intently at Shu Qian. Using all his strength, he trembled as he spoke. Are you Xu Ningyan? The others remained silent, silently watching him, held their breath. Shu Qian awkwardly smiled and said, "It's me." Hearing his response, there was a silence for over 10 seconds. Song Tingfeng suddenly shouted. He ran wildly towards Shu Qian. Why aren't you dead? You were clearly dead. What happened to your appearance? How did you come back to life? Tell us about it. Shu Qianan looked utterly despondent. I'll explain that later. He pushed aside Song Tingfeng and the others, and, with a grin, pointed to the silver gong insignia on his chest. He said to Li Yuchun, "Boss, I've become a silver gong." Li Yuchun pretended to be calm, and nodded, saying, "Not bad. My hard work in training you wasn't in vain." Shu Qian looked at Zhang Li again. "Hey little sister, come over here. Let me introduce you to my boss." Zhang Li still didn't know what was happening. She was pushed in front of Li Yuchun by Shu Qian. Li Yuchun looked at Zhang Li. I just felt a cold snake crawling over my back. My scalp tingled inch by inch. The girl's hair was dry and disheveled. Her coarse robe was full of wrinkles. I couldn't see her face. Li Yuchun showed a look of terror and kept retreating. Covering his mouth, he roared, "Whose girl is this? Make her disappear quickly." Shu Qian hurriedly sent the fifth senior sister away. "Zhang Li, you go to my Yidao Hall first. It's right ahead, turn right." Zhang Li reluctantly walked away. Next, Shu Qian explained in detail to everyone how he came back to life, and how he became a silver gong afterward. The two young men were in awe as they listened, unable to hide their envy. Zhang Luzhong sighed with emotion. The rebirth pill can shed one's old body, gaining a new body. I heard that His Majesty asked the supervisor for one before, but the supervisor didn't give him one. Isn't Chu Wei your sweetheart? Shu Qian ignored his teasing. He put his arm around Song Tingfeng's shoulder and said, "Let's not talk about this. It's rare for us brothers to reunite. Let's go to the pleasure quarters tonight." But Song Tingfeng firmly shook his head. He said it seriously. "I won't go to the brothel anymore. I'm not who I used to be." The current Song Tingfeng will be a diligent and progressive person. "Ningyan, you will change, and I will change too. You can't look at me with the old perspective." Shu Qian ignored him. He turned around and walked out with Zhu Guangxao. "You don't have to go. Tonight we're going to the brothel together. It's on me. Deal?" Then he smiled at Zhu Guangxao. "I still owe you 5 trips to the brothel. We had a written agreement. Song Tingfeng swallowed his sleep saliva, gritting his teeth and stomping his foot. He followed. Ningyan, the document also has my name. Tonight, I'm going to the brothel to drink too. Shu Qian's face was stern and righteous. You can't go. You're not the same Song Tingfeng as before. The drinking and revelry will be handled by Guangxiao and me. You are the ambitious Song Tingfeng. Song Tingfeng was taken aback by these words, his old face flushed with embarrassment. Anyway, I've already lost face completely. Might as well stop pretending. He must be at the brothel tonight. Shu Qian looked at him in that state, and felt sorry for 2 seconds, and then he began to laugh wildly again. The Buddha envoy's resting place is the Sanyang Inn in the West City. The 2-entry courtyard has 3-century-old willows, hence the name. After reminiscing with his colleagues, Shu Qian came alone to the Sanyang post to inquire about news. The postman walked out from the gate, quietly entered a small alley. In the alley stood a young man wearing a night watchman's uniform, pressing the knife with one hand, leaning against the wall, waiting for a long time. The courier handed over a note. My lord, this is the list of the current Western region envoy. The leader's master is named Du Yi. Master Du Yi has just been summoned to the palace. He's not at the inn. Shu Qian flicked his fingers. A piece of silver flew in an arc, caught steadily by the courier, sent the courier away. Shu Qian quickly took off the night watchman's uniform, then took out a monk's robe from the book fragment and put it on. He touched his buzz cut and steeled himself, comforting himself by saying, although it's been hard to grow a little hair out, it can grow back, can only sacrifice. A few minutes later, a handsome and masculine monk arrived at the station gate. The gatekeeper was not a station hand, but a young monk. The monk stepped forward and blocked the way. What is your name, brother? Shu Qian put his hands together and recited his Dharma name. Amitabha. I am Hung Yuan from Qinglong Temple. Hearing that fellow disciples from the western regions have arrived, I have come to pay my respects. That monk is not easy to deceive either. He scrutinized Shu Qian and asked, has brother Hung Yuan broken his vows? Shu Qian, with a tone of family secrets are known by family members, said, I practice as a warrior monk. The monk suddenly understood, and his tone immediately became polite. Brother Hung Yuan, please come in. Led by the monk guarding the door, Shu Qian passed through the front yard to the inner courtyard. The monk stopped in the courtyard, and went inside alone. Brother Hung Yuan, please wait here for a moment. I will notify Uncle Jingchen. Shu Qian watched the young monk enter a room, recalling the names on the list. The total number of the Western region envoy this time is 20. The highest ranking person is naturally Master Du, the leader of this delegation. Next, there are 2 others. They are Jingchen and Jingxi. Look at their Dharma names. These 2 should be senior and junior brothers. Shu Qian was thinking. A young monk came out. He invited Shu Qian inside. Shu Qian followed the young monk into the room. The room is filled with the scent of sandalwood. Shu Qian clasps his hands together. Master Jingchen. The middle-aged monk returns the gesture. Brother Hung Yuan. After Shu Qian sat down cross-legged, Jingchen then said, Brother Panshu just returned to the temple. Shu Qian understood what he meant. He wanted to say, the monks at Qinglong Temple have just received news of the envoy entering the capital. Abbot Panshu has just returned to Qinglong Temple, without a special reason. He wouldn't let the monks come over to disturb us. This is a test from the other side. Shu Qian had prepared a draft for this. He spoke unhurriedly. I, a humble monk, left the temple many years ago. Monk Jingchen smiled and said, What brings you here, Brother Hung Yuan? His voice seemed to possess a strange magic that made Shu Qian instinctively resist lying, and just want to honestly explain his purpose. Shu Qian's heart tightened. A 5th-rank adjudicator, the abbot of Qinglong Temple, Pan Shu, is also of the 5th rank. Monks of this level are like walking rules. They consciously or unconsciously influence those around them. Shu Qian had never seen a law enforcer fight, but when he went to Qinglong Temple to investigate the Rubo case, I specifically researched the data on Buddhist masters. Their combat power comes from the precepts. It's somewhat like the Confucian doctrine of words becoming law, but not as unruly as Confucianism. Shu Qian clasped his hands together and recited a Buddhist chant. Senior brother and fellow disciples have arrived in the capital. Is it for the unsealed item from the Senko case? Jingshen squinted his eyes, and asked with a calm expression, "Senior brother Panchu mentioned it?" Before monk Panchu returned to Qinglong Temple, Uncle Duer strictly ordered not to reveal the existence of the sealed item, not even to the monks of Qinglong Temple. Master Jingshen set a trap for Shu Qian. It wasn't as the master said. To be honest, I was also involved in the Sangpo case. In the gentle and peaceful eyes of Jingshen, it seemed as if a golden divine light flashed. Shu Qian showed a look of melancholy and sorrow. "I have a junior brother. His monastic name is Hongwei. We grew up together since childhood. Very close. Hongwei suddenly disappeared over a year ago. He also stole a spell from the temple that conceals one's aura. I investigated from many angles. I found that he was likely abducted by a trafficking organization." Jingshen seemed to be suffering unbearable loneliness. He could only chant Buddhist mantras to ease his emotions. Amitabha, seeing junior brother Hung Yuan like this, he felt a stir in his heart, and asked, "Is there more to this case?" Shu Qian nodded and said, "That's right. Junior brother Hongwei and a female pilgrim fell in love. They pledged their lives to each other, so he stole the Qinglong Temple's sacred artifact and ran away." Jingshen furrows his brows, and a multitude of doubts flash through his mind. He asks, "Even if you elope, there's no need to steal a magical artifact, right?" Shu Hongyuan sighed. "That female pilgrim is the legitimate daughter of Prince Yu. Prince Yu is His Majesty's younger brother, a noble prince. If not for the artifact that conceals her aura, they can't leave the capital city." Master Jingshen was momentarily speechless, couldn't find the words. Then, Shu Qian described how two young people, indifferent to worldly matters, were, how to be passively involved in party strife, and how to die an untimely death, was roughly explained. Master Jingshen clasped his hands, showing compassion on his face, chanting the Buddha's name. After a few moments of silence, he said, "But this matter, what does it have to do with the Rubo case?" Shu Qian smiled inwardly. With a calm expression, he said, "This case is full of twists and turns. It's far from as simple as it looks. At the end of last year, the Royal Yongjin Mountain River Temple in Sangpo was suddenly destroyed by an explosion. The evil entity sealed beneath Sangpo has emerged. The Emperor of Dafeng is furious. He ordered the 3 departments to investigate thoroughly. The reason I got involved is that the evil entity has parasitized junior brother Hongwei." Master Jingshen's face changed dramatically, and he asked urgently, "Where is that evil thing now? Hongwei isn't dead yet. How did the Great Feng handle this matter? Did the supervisor not take action? Or, has the evil entity been resealed by the supervisor?" Shu Qian's lips curled slightly, thinking, "Got you, old bald donkey." He analyzed the Sangpo case and the Pingyang Princess case in a simple and clear manner, revealing all the secrets behind the 2 cases. He told every detail to Monk Jingshen. Monk Jingshen remained silent for a long time. It seems to be interconnected, stunned by the intricate and complex case. Master Jingshen's heart was in turmoil. Uncle Master went to the palace to meet the emperor and understand the details of the case. Unexpectedly, I, staying at the post station, was the first to know the whole story. He sighed. This case is indeed full of twists and turns, and the person who can solve it is even more impressive. How does junior brother Hung Yuan know such details? Shu Qian knew. This is a doubt that Monk Jingshen would inevitably raise. He wasn't flustered at all. Forcing himself to resist the instinct not to lie, he replied, "Although this case is hosted by the 3 departments, but the one who truly uncovered the Sangpo case and Princess Pingyang's case was a silver gong from the Watchman's Bureau, named Shu Qian. This humble monk is on very good terms with Lord Shu, and I myself got involved because of my junior brother Hongwei." That's when it became perfectly clear. Monk Jingshen noted down the name, Silver Gong Shu Qian. Shu Hongyuan said slowly, "Senior brother, you are unaware, Shu Qian is the most brilliant and talented person I've ever met in my life. In terms of cultivation, he is extraordinarily gifted. Throughout the entire Dafeng, few can compare to him. In terms of official duties, he resolutely refuses to take a single needle or thread from the common people. He takes up the cause of justice for the country. In solving cases, though the great song has many experts, none can surpass him. In poetry and literature, He is hailed as the greatest poet of the past 200 years in Dafeng. It's said that the courtesans of the Dafeng division are madly in love with him, but he pays them no mind. Monk Jingchen was stunned. He couldn't believe such a person existed in the capital. A sharp light flickered in Monk Jingchen's eyes. There truly are such people in this world. It's a pity they don't enter my Buddhist sect. Shu Qian's alertness increased. Damn, he's bragging too much. Does this guy want to convert me to Buddhism? Then what's the point of this iron rod? He subtly changed the subject. This time I came to find my senior brother. I just want to ask what exactly is the evil thing under Sangpo. This humble monk knows it is related to Buddhism, but can't understand why it is suppressed in Dafeng's Sangpo. Monk Jingchen looked troubled. This? Shu Hongyuan asked proactively. Senior brother, what troubles do you have? Jingchen said. This matter is a Buddhist secret. Junior brother, it's better not to ask further. Shu Hongyuan sneered. I understand. I've always considered the Western sect as my own family. Never thought that in the eyes of my fellow disciples, I'm just an outsider. He said this while standing up and walking out. Enough, enough. It was presumptuous of this humble monk. This humble monk will leave now. The Western region's Buddhism is the Western region's Buddhism. The Qinglong Temple is the Qinglong Temple. It's different, Jingchen shouted, with an angry face. Stop, we are both disciples of Buddha. Offering to Buddha is a family affair. Junior brother's words just now were truly hurtful. Do not say such things again. Shu Hongyuan felt a surge of joy in his heart. This is promising. But he remained expressionless on the surface. Just let out a faint cold snort. Jingchen sighed inwardly, and greeted, Junior brother, please sit. I will tell you what I know. Qinglong Temple is the last remnant of the Western region's Buddhism in Dafeng. If the Western region's Buddhism wants to continue preaching in the Central Plains, Qinglong Temple is an indispensable force. Against such a backdrop, the Western Buddhist sect places great importance on its relationship with the Qinglong Temple family. Any suspicions and rifts must be eradicated and avoided. Jingchen said, that evil entity is indeed related to our Buddhist sect. I heard from Uncle Du that he was a traitor to Buddhism. Shu Hongyuan's eyes narrowed slightly. Just as I expected, Shenshu monk is from Buddhism, but was sealed by the Buddhist sect itself. What else could he be but a traitor? Monk Jingchen sighed. Don't ask who it is. That's why it's called a Buddhist secret. The inside story. Even I, a humble monk, do not know. Shu Qian really wanted to use his aura-seeing technique to see if he was lying, but he held back, and asked instead, why was he sealed instead of being exorcised? Monk Jingchen pondered and said, after Abbot Panchu sent the message back to the Western regions, the Arhats and Bodhisattvas took it very seriously. They informed each other through thunderous sounds. Such a solemn demeanor has not been seen since the Battle of Shanhaiguan 20 years ago. On the way east, I heard Uncle Du say that the demon monk cannot be killed. This statement contains a great deal of information, forcing Shu Qian to pause his questioning and ponder deeply. In other words, Monk Shenshu was sealed in Sangbo. It's not because the Buddhist sect is compassionate, but because they can't kill him, Monk Shenshu once said. He luckily stepped into the highest realm of immortality. But don't forget, in Buddhism, there exists the Buddha, a being beyond rank. Even the Buddha couldn't kill Monk Shenshu? Oh my god, Monk Shenshu is more terrifying than I imagined. What kind of monster is he exactly? Shu Qian muttered to himself. Such a terrible traitor is a major threat. Choosing to seal him in the territory of our ally, Dafeng. There must be some compelling reason. Otherwise, sealing him under their own watch would be safer, wouldn't it? Shu Qian said in a deep voice. I understand now, so it can't be killed. No wonder it had to be dismembered and sealed. But why choose Sangbo? Jingchen said. This is a question that I, a humble monk, also wish to know. I asked Uncle Du about it on the way. Uncle told me, it stems from an event 500 years ago with the martial emperor of Dafeng. Shu Qian felt it was a pity. 500 years ago, Buddhism was spreading across Dafeng. Temples sprang up like mushrooms after rain. There was indeed more to the story, but most of the data from 500 years ago has been destroyed or altered. It's impossible to investigate. After a few more words, Shu Qian confirmed he couldn't get any more information, so he got up to leave. Monk Jingchen personally escorted him out. Just as he left the room, he saw a handsome monk walking along the corridor. "Brother," Jingchen returned the greeting. Introduced, "This is junior brother Hongyuan from Qinglong Temple. You should call him senior brother." Shu Qian returned the greeting. Then he said to Jingchen, "Senior brother, no need to see me off." Watching Shu Qian's departing figure, Jing Si didn't retract his gaze for a long time. Jing Chen asked, "Junior brother, what's wrong?" Jing Si said, "For some reason, I always feel he has a kind of endearing power.